All right, guys. Brock, Clint, you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Excellent.
We're going totally unscripted. I don't have any like bumper lines or whatever they call like "Welcome to Argent Alpha Unscripted." We'll dive in. We just had a great conversation. The three of us meet every week, and it just it motivates us all. We had a scheduling snafu that I screwed up. Daylight savings time. It literally happens twice a year. Every time I can never get it right. So anyway, Brock was actually early, and I thought he was late. It's like anyway. Well, let's talk about. I want to go back to just some of the basics that we talk about, and I'm just going to share my screen to give everybody kind of a glance at what we're talking about. I want to talk about the Alpha Triad. Alpha Triad, when you boil down Argent Alpha to its very essence, is this is it. It's the future self. That's your North Star. It's the Alpha five standards in key areas, and then R.A.D, recurring accountability drivers. This is really everything else we do is awesome that surrounds us, but this is the core of it. And so I'll start with you, Clint. One, did you have a future self before you joined Argent Alpha? If you didn't, what'd you think of it, or how did you give me like your initial, if you can remember, like this future self concept and Benjamin Hardy and all, just back in
Yeah.
those early days?
Just thinking back, I craved it. No, I didn't have a future self before. I had always for years been into maybe self-help and listening to people that are helping us elevate and growing our mindset, growth mindset. So it wasn't foreign to me, but the actual future self book by Ben Hardy, well, actually, it was a game changer. And when we all started just diving into this and figuring it out, that's really what attracted me. I had already had a good fitness routine and some other things, and just on the health side, but that elevated everything. And really, it made me just kind of dive into you are what you think about. You know what I mean? And Brock, I know you could go on for days thinking about what you think about. And that's huge. It resonates with me. So my future self is something that I need to focus on. And so to answer your question, I didn't have a good grasp of it before. And now I think it's probably the number one biggest thing that's why it's at the top of the Alpha Triad. It's the most important thing.
Well, what I love about what you've done with it is you've taken it to the next level and branded your own personal, your own
Yeah.
future self with Project 8 2026.
Yeah.
Just give guys just you don't have to go into any details, but just describe that because I think when you brand it, it gives a whole nother level of sort of
Yeah.
importance.
It actually started years ago before we met. It started with Project 8 2020. And that started probably in 2018. It was just a vision of kind of where I wanted to go. And I did have a little brand back then too. It wasn't quite like this one, but so it was just just the next level of that. And Project 8 2026 for me, I created it in August 2025, and I said, okay, a year from today, like the time is now. There's no more tomorrow. All this stems back to our eulogy project from a couple years ago and everything. And I just said, I'm tired of delaying gratification. I put in the work. And so Project 8 2026 is the realization of that vision. And it's for, my wife and I, Team Murray, we call it. And I've shared the little branding and the logo, and it's just got the four pillars that we're kind of shooting towards, and each one of those has a description. So it's got a description, it's got its branding, which I shared with you.
Yeah, that's
um
great.
yeah, so that's the future. And right now planning on 2026, it's gonna expand on that and move forward. So
Yeah, I love it. That's so cool. Brock, how about you? Like, I know you've been deep in the personal development space for a while. I don't know if Future Self was part of your process or if it was new, but talk a little bit about since you and I met a little over 3 years ago.
hmm Yeah, it's something that's near and dear and so important, and it's really hard to be concise with how many things I've layered in at this point. But I've always been a motivated, goal-oriented driver type, but now to have frameworks and systems and things that overlay, where it's somewhat always creating urgency, always having like a shorter timeline that I'm operating on as far as, setting goals, new initiatives. It's ever evolving in the sense of health. Like there's never a place where you arrive. There's things that largely stay the same with, how I eat and workouts I do, but there's little pieces in the future self that I want to be that's changing. The mindset category is just like, it gets better and better the deeper you go with it. But yeah, one thing, when I started out in insurance sales, I was an intern when I was 20 or 21. And someone told me, they're like, okay, you're in sales basically. So you're going to have the door slammed in your face literally every call you make, every sales pitch you make. So if you don't find a way to find something positive to start your day, you'll never, ever, you'll quit. So most of the time what people do. So he goes, I tell all you young guys that. And so I started listening. I subscribed to Success Magazine. I was reading all kinds of positivity, self-development. And it's like, that's what really kind of kicked off what's now my morning routine and just how I start my day. And it's how I frame up everything. But, even that has evolved so much over the last 20 years. So yeah, it's the future self is, I could keep going and talk a whole bit more in depth, but I love it.
Yeah, I think.
Hey, before you go on, Jag, I'd love to hear a little bit about yours too, just because I know over the last few years, how has your future self evolved?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I came across the concept I was in Benjamin Hardy's coaching group called Accelerated Momentum Program. AMP is what they called it. He's since he sunsetted that thing and he's moved on to his other new ventures. But that's where I got exposed to it. And then I remember being part of the group where he shared the pre-release copy of the book. And so many of the concepts that were in Be Your Future Self Now, his book, we were learning. And the whole idea where it hit me was in business, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have core values, if you don't have KPIs, all that stuff, you're just not going to be successful. And so to me, it's like, this is like the vision for my life. Like, why don't I have this? We have it in business, but it was this right when you learn about it, you're like, this is such an obvious miss. And it ties right in with Covey's line about begin with the end in mind. And so when you have an idea, and the end can be, in this context, 6 months from now, 1 year, 3 years. And along the way, I started writing these future self letters. Here's one. I don't know if it shows up with my little background. Here's one yet to be opened. And then in our last event in September, the entire group wrote theirs, including you two guys. And I've got them stored away safely that we're going to open them up a year from now. So like a time capsule. And what's cool is I've got 3 of them right here now. When you open those up and you look at them, there's a self-fulfilling prophecy factor that happens. Like, I didn't get everything right specifically, but I got everything right directionally. I was in the same in the ballpark. And it's kind of cool. I mean, I wrote it as if I was Scott in, I think it was a year from now on these old ones. It's typically the time frame I've used. And I put the stamps on them, I mail them, I get the postmark, 2-3 days later, it comes back in the mail and I see that and I sit literally, it's sitting right here in front of me where I can look at it. And it's funny how just a little letter written to myself is a reminder of the future self. So that's kind of my daily cue of, I don't necessarily read the specifics every day, but this is a reminder of like, okay, there it is. So that was my journey.
The 3 of us did it in May as well. I've got one here that I sent.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
I got one that I just opened up in September, and I got another one staring at me, and then the one that you have too, Scott. It's awesome. I think another piece that would add to the accountability of this is what Clint is doing. The Murray 820 2026, like branding it. Like, I mean, think about that. It's not just a hope. It's just like, it's inevitability. I like that piece of it, Clint. I'm walking away with something on this podcast. Nice. I got to brand mine.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, it's so funny on the topic of branding. So I would call this a subset of my future self. So we've done 4 now annual family vacations. And so I came up with a branding for each one of them. And so it's like one was in Grand Lake, Colorado, one was in Tahoe, the last 2 have been in San Diego. And it's just become a centerpiece for our family now, where it's like August is the time we get together. And again, I tend to go overboard with, I've got a postcard of it. I've done stickers. I've done T-shirts. It's like there's a little Jag merchandise store for our family. Out in,
Imagine your grandkids showing their kids that. That's where the impact is. This is what we do as a family. It's
yeah,
really
well,
cool.
I like the idea of artifacts. It's like
Yeah.
we have our memories, but it's sometimes nice to have a little piece of symbolism. So, like my future self letter, these little stickers, the postcard, and that's where right now with chat or Fiverr, it's so easy to. You don't have to be a marketing guru at
Yeah.
all. You can outsource this and get it done for free or cheap. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's a great. I mean, Clint, when you named your future self or your plan, Project 8 2026. One, it just sounds cool. It sounds like secret agent stuff,
Yeah.
James Bond, or
Yeah.
it's like this message will self-destruct on 8 2026. And
Yeah.
so I don't know, I think that's awesome. So I think for guys interested in this, Ben Hardy's book, Be Your Future Self Now, is a great resource. And what's funny is when I think about the Alpha Triad, and I'm just going to bring this up one more time so we got it in front of us. When you think of this overlays really well, and this is almost accidental, but I think it shows you the fidelity of what we're working on. Future self is the be, Alpha 5 is the do, and the R.A.D is the have. Like, go be your future self right now, do the things that that person does, and you'll have the things that that guy has. And have meaning we do testing and we do all the accountability, and that's the process of like proving to yourself you're becoming that guy. And so there's this nice iterative sort of element to this that really helps reinforce it. So let's move on to Alpha 5. So Alpha 5, these are standards we set in 5 areas of life: mindset, sleep, nutrition, fitness, hydration. And it all starts with mindset, which is just right. The first step out of future self is, okay, how does that guy think? And so a lot of it is fixed mindset or growth mindset. And the answer to that is you got to start with somewhere, I say north of neutral. You can't, if fixed mindset, that's the first thing you got to fix. Get into
Yeah.
neutral and then move into the growth mindset. But and anybody not familiar with that, that's Carol Dweck's work on the book Growth, or excuse me, on the book Mindset. Fixed mindset means you think you're just the hand, it's the hand you're dealt. It's your genetics. It's just how it is. I've always been bad at math, or I don't like working out, or all these fixed limiting beliefs. Versus the growth mindset counterpart is I'm capable of learning new things. I'm just getting started. I can improve. And so and we've all run across this a lot, and we all drift into fixed mindset periodically throughout the day, the week, the year. But Brock, talk a little bit about well, either mindset or any of the Alpha 5, or just the idea of standards, whatever is resonating with you right now. What comes to mind?
Mindset, it for sure is. It's ever evolving. It continues to get better and better. And I can't remember if I've said it on past podcasts or not, but a guy is like 14, 15 years ago now. He's just like, I was telling him about all these business things and personal things I'm struggling with. I go, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to lean into, how to go about organizing it. He goes, well, just start writing to yourself. I'm like, okay, well, what do I write? He goes, pull out a blank sheet of paper and start to write, or a note section on your phone and start to write. So I think I wrote, I suck was day one. And day two was I suck a little less. And day three was I'm getting better at not suck. And now it's like it's become something where it's just like no matter what how I wake up, how well I slept, kind of, you know, environment I'm in, it's just like it serves me so well. It's repetitive. I don't even have to think about it. It happens. It's the way that I start every single day. It's how I plan out, organize my day. That I know exactly how my day is going to finish. With the big bulk of things that I get a lot of it done before I even leave the house. And then I know how I'm going to finish my evening routine. But a lot of that is just like bookending the mindset piece of it. And the term, I can't even remember where I heard it, just thinking about what you think about. And it's a scary thing, or people just don't even know how to do it, or they just quit because they don't know what to write on that blank sheet of paper. But like a lot of stuff, the tools that you've laid out, Jag, your book is great for just helping people get started on, okay, how do I set a goal? How do I make sure that I have activity that's based around, helping me set pieces up like that? But people try to try to hit whatever their goal is in day one, when a lot of the times it's just like, it's that small little consistency that you build on and layer in over time, and you get better and better, just like everything else. You don't go from intern to CEO in a year or two. It takes you 20 years to do that. So why is it going to be any different in things that you have not done? In your health and mindset is just that. So it's the little deposits just add up over time. I keep talking on this, but it's the most powerful one. It's the most important one by far, more than what you eat and your workouts and all that.
Yeah, how you think. Yep, absolutely. What do you think, Clint?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts on that. And just to Brock's point about writing or starting, my mind goes automatically to, we have to have the thought of always be a beginner at something. We all, and that's no matter what level you're at. And if you're just starting with your standards, look at it like you're a beginner. You have to open up and be a little vulnerable. And maybe that's the hardest part. But hey, I don't know how to do this. Just always be a beginner, asking for help. We have the help here for guys that are starting with their Alpha 5 or their daily habits. But then, moving on to just our standards, I think about, and I say this a lot because I believe this is how it should be. Our standards should not be something that are the main focus of our day. Just like we were talking earlier about Brock, how it helps him. And all of us, they just should be who you are and what you do. Your standards are the basics. And I think I quoted this on school the other day, but I love this quote. It just resonates with me, but it just be regular and orderly in your life. So those are your standards. You're regular and orderly, and those are your baseline. And it says, be regular and orderly in your life so that you can be violent and original in your work. And I love that. So the things that we're passionate about, the work that we're doing, the things that, the legacy we're leaving, that's where you want to be violent and original. I like the way that sounds for whatever reason, but those are the things, that's where you really want your focus. Your standards are just, hey, this is what I do. These are my baseline. This is how I can do those things. And that's how I look at it.
One thing I want to add on that, Clint, I shared this with you guys before, is having your standards. I love what you said. Like it's not how you, or it's inevitable. You're gonna do it, and it's what gets you through it. Like anyone could do it on their best days, but their worst days is like, that's your operating system. That is exactly how you go through your structure. And sharing with you guys, I got a pretty big deal of adversity going on right now. And guess what? Didn't sway from my morning routine, how I'm going through my day, what I'm eating, the workout that I'm about to go to do in an hour and a half. All of that stuff is still the same, regardless as, if I had the best day and had no adversity I'm going through. It's like, that's why it's so important, but it starts with building those little pieces, those habits. And then from there, you can layer in the different mindsets, about, raising that ceiling, or raising that floor towards the ceiling, with their default standards.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's worth zooming out a little bit for anybody that's new to this concept. Is we all have standards. The challenge and the opportunity is they all tend to be default standards. And so as we move to design standards, that's the game changer. So we already so the 5 standards: mindset, sleep, nutrition, fitness, hydration. So we already think, sleep, eat, move, and drink. So we're just saying do it with intention and in a way that serves your future self. So that's where all this stuff gets connected. So when you think about, let's just take about sleeping. If you don't have a set bedtime and a set wake time and a bedtime routine, here's what happens. Your favorite team plays on Monday Night Football and you're up till midnight, 3 hours past your bedtime. You wake up a half hour late, you're groggy, your next day is crushed. When you set a standard, you might say, like, I don't care how much you love the Giants or the Vikings or the Rams. You're like, either A, I'm lights out at 9. That's me now. I've lowered the value of sports in my life. It's not, my sleep's more important than a sport. One game that I won't remember in a day. So it's like, but some guys, I get it. It's your team and you're into it. So what can you do to better prep? What would be a standard for that day? Can you still get up at the right time and still crush your day? Can you not have beer while you watch it? Can you create some standard with intention behind it? So the other thing that's cool about standards, as you define them and design them and then raise them, you're effectively raising your floor. And so I know a number of guys in Argent Alpha where I'm just going to look over the road here. Their worst days today are better than their best days a year ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you gotta stop and think about that. So like my baseline day today, my worst day, however I just show up, my minimum standards is better than my best days, a year ago. So a lot of guys have a challenge with food and alcohol. Those two big things, they shift that, or they didn't move, or they didn't lift weights, or they didn't have
Yeah.
a journaling practice or mindset practice. They just woke up, grabbed the phone, the world was invaded their day right out of the gate, and they've shifted all these things. So this whole idea of
Mhm.
having standards, think about in business, like if you're in sales, if you had no standards for prospects, just what you start with the yellow pages, start with A and just start calling them. Let's just say you sell landscaping work. So you're calling the seamstress shop to sell. It's like it just makes no sense. Somebody say you need to have a standard. You'd have to have a reason to call it. It's the same stuff with what we're talking about. If you don't have a standard that's defined, you will default to the lowest level, and you will never get better with default standards ever. There's
Mhm.
nobody in the world that has default standards that are awesome.
Yeah.
How humans are.
How many of those guys that said their worst day now is like their best day a year ago could have said that about the previous year before they came in here? They're probably the same. Their worst days are the worst days, their best days are their best days, and they look the same. Now you've created quite a gap in that year. And that year that, we talk about the gap and the gain, they're in the gain there. It gives you fuel for next year too. Yeah, sure, you're not to where your level of goal is because you continue to set that future self, but you have far more expectation or a roadmap or like the framework to start, raising the default to more design standards now too.
Well, we're all James Clear fans. He wrote the book Atomic Habits. And so what's great about this approach is anybody can adopt this. So let's just say we haven't had anybody like this come in, but let's just say you're a 400-pound man coming into this, and you just the mailbox might be the walk of the day. That's start there, and then next day 10 feet past the mailbox, and the next day it's around the block. And so no matter where you are, or you're the stud that comes in 180 pounds, 12% body fat, but you move like crap because your mobility is horrible because you went through Brock's movement screen and he pointed out all your faults. and and he points out how you're just an injury waiting to happen. Start with that. What's a small step? You get out your foam roller, you roll out that piriformis muscle or whatever the terms Brock uses that he's loosening up on us, and all of a sudden, or you get your shoulders unlocked and you get overhead and you can hang from the bar. So it's all you can start wherever you are, no matter if you're the elite athlete coming in or the guy who hasn't been in a gym in 20 years and needs to literally cut his weight in half. So that's what I love about standards is everybody. There's a spot for everybody, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think about just a visual of some of the success stories we see here, though. There's been some amazing success stories where people are coming in and completely just rewiring their mindset and their thought process. And we're seeing them just elevate everywhere.
oh
So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Those are the ones that are talk about inspirational. Is
Yeah.
the journey they've covered. Hey, real quick before we move on to Rad, anything else you guys want to add on just the importance of standards, the starting somewhere is better than not starting at all, raising your floor. Anything else?
Write them down and track, because if you don't write them down and track and they just live in your head, you likely are drifting or never hitting, or you always have a brighter idea of how things are until you actually track them. It's like, oh, I thought I had nailed my water every single day, and I 4 of the 7 days I didn't even get more than 50 ounces. Like, and that's a simple thing. Like you could see it in your workouts. How many days you went to the gym. But like, are you just going to the gym or are you trying to get better? Are you and then tracking your food. Like everybody that I bring in on my initial phone call, onboarding call, I'm like, talk to me about your nutrition. Oh, I eat pretty good, really, really good. I'm like, oh, awesome. Tell me about it. And we get there, and by the end of it, they're like, oh, yeah, I got a ways to go. They know the roadmap of where, it's not to say it's always, you always drift if you're not tracking or have an idea.
That reminds me of in The Simpsons where Homer's looking into the mirror and it's just normal Homer here, but the mirror he just shows this guy with pecs and six pack and like I mean I love that he had a nice enhanced vision of himself, but we inadvertently lie to ourselves. There's not one guy that's ever hit his protein goal or drank the water or gotten to sleep without having an idea. If they're just winging it, we never err on the side of overachieving. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Or if it
Yeah.
does, it's an exception. I mean, Clint, how easy is it to get to 220 grams of protein by just the normal waking up and just having your day roll out in front of you with no intention?
Yeah, it's like almost impossible not to once you start doing it,
Yeah,
just
once
the
you
way.
start doing it, but if you didn't
Yeah.
have an intention, you'd probably,
Ain't happening.
yeah, you're
Oh,
leaning on the carbs. Protein is like a slice of salami, or I don't know. It's just you're just
there's one question that the biggest question, that the first question, how am I going to get that protein in? Everybody that
yeah.
comes on board, so
And then there's guys like you, guys like Sean Dunn. Hey,
yeah.
that guy's got 100 grams for breakfast,
Yeah.
and the cool thing, anybody listen to this, there is no upper limit to protein. You can eat, your body utilizes it, and so getting to your body weight or higher in protein is definitely the way to go. It's one of the easiest, it's not easy, but it's one of the best things you can do to start changing your body comp. So um,
Yeah.
that might be a whole other podcast. All right, let's talk about RAD, recurring accountability drivers. To me, this is where if we only had future self and Alpha 5, it'd be great, but it would be incomplete because if we're not measuring, testing, reporting, being accountable, this stuff, it will last for either 30, 60, 90, maybe 120 days. And then life gets back and it's like a thermostat. It goes right back to its set point.
Yeah.
Um, and so there's a lot of stuff in RAD, but like Clint, what's like the thing for you personally that you're drawn to in terms of what RAD does for you?
Um, so many, the testing is obviously huge, but I'm just thinking about weekly reporting, and that's just one element of it that's very important. And I take time to put my weekly plan together, and I want to make sure that it means something to me. I don't just spit it out. I take some time. I think about everything that I'm going to do, and then we put it out there publicly. We report it, and I don't want to go back on what I say. So for me, that's one of the most important things is the accountability, and it's super helpful. And if we put the effort in, the results will come.
Yeah. How about you, Brock?
I mean, think of what accountability is. It's something outside of yourself, whether it's one on one where you're working with a coach or you're in a group or a community or something like that. You're saying that you're going to do something and then having some sort of, accountability towards that, where the other parts of it, like, the vision and the plan or the future self and the drivers that or sorry the Alpha 5, like no one else needs to know about those, and they won't know if you hit them or didn't. But the accountability piece does, and it's like it's what makes things happen. It's what helps you to continue to get better, especially in this community when you're making them public, letting people know what you're gonna do, and did I follow up on it, and then going out a couple weeks or a couple months and being like, this guy, Tom Shaver, when he says he's going to do something, I know he's going to do something. It's like and then you watch those guys, and guess what? Those role models, those leaders, excuse me, they are people that you cling on to and look at how they're doing it, and the people who mail it in, that just, tell people what they want to hear, probably not getting much better. But when you take time and think about it, plan out your week, plan out your day, and then review your day, review your week, review your month, review your year, like all of those things. Their accountability, and they help shape how you're going to go about it next time.
Yeah, and I would say for me, it starts with a victory lap the night before. I stack the wins and then I do a quick preview of the next day. I wake up the next morning. First thing I do is my morning routine. And then I look at my priorities I set the last night. Then I finalize it and go, okay, this is the day I'm going to have. And so then that's the first step. So that all comes from a Jim Rohn quote. never live a day till never start a day till you've lived it on paper. Go something like that. So the whole idea is like put your day on paper. This is back to that accountability part, and then go live that day. Just live what you wrote out. That's personal integrity. I need that personally because um, I can be the biggest bullshit artist to myself. I can talk the talk and all these things, and then go out and do the exact opposite and go and then justify it. So, but with R.A.D, it's like, all right, I just shared this stuff with these guys, and I know I can BS for a little bit, but when we do the monthly in-body scans and the A3 fitness standards, that separates the BSers from the guys who are just doing the work. And I like that
Mhm.
because that's like business. We used to have a sales guy, and he'd go through his prospect list, and every one of these prospects he'd use a football field analogy, and it would be they'd be on the 30-yard line, and so, well, which one? Our 30 or their 30? So oh no,
Right.
they're in scoring, they're moving the field down, and they'd be in the red zone. And after like 3 months of this whole analogy, I go like, I probably use some choice language, but hey, Steve, when the hell is he going to get in the end zone? It's like it was all just like all the good talk, and he said all the right things. It was exciting, and the big names, and so ultimately, like, if you don't have the results, it just doesn't matter. And that's what R.A.D brings is it flushes out for me like, okay, you can either continue to be a bullshit artist or you can actually do the work, post the numbers and do it, and you get results. And I think that's the challenge. A lot of guys don't want that. They don't want to be pinned down because accountability means accountability. I mean, you can't outsource it. It's
Yeah.
I think it ties all of these things in together. Think of how you just started that, Jag. You talked about it starts for me in my victory lap, the day, the end of the day, and I know I'm going to start my tomorrow. I don't know how many clients that I have and how many guys even in this group that don't have those bookends to the day. They just leave it to chance. They get up, they go right to email, they go through all of their day, and then they watch Netflix until they go to bed. And it's like, well, where are you following through on all this stuff? Well, it's just if I'm having a good day, I'll have a good day. If I'm having a bad day, I probably miss. Well, bringing it down to like you don't give that opportunity to miss. Clint, I know you don't, and I don't either. Those bookends of the day are sacred. And I think that that's where so much of all of this stuff hits. And it brings me to, we're going to get talked about on podcast one other time of James Lawrence, the Iron Cowboy, who did 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 states. They asked him, hey, James, when did you know you're going to finish whatever 37th day in a row? I knew I was going to finish when I woke up. And I heard you say that same thing there, Jeg. Like, I know the day that I'm going to have because I've mapped it all out. I have the time set aside, and I've built that muscle, so I just, now it's automatic.
Yeah, and I think what guys may a counter, someone who's got a little bit of a doubting time would say, well, what happens when you can't control what happens in your day, and there's stuff that what if you get hit by a car? What if a client calls and fires you? And it's like you're right, I can't control all those things, but I can control how I start it and how I end it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
when Brock talks about bookending, and when you can start your day on your terms and end your day on your terms, whatever happens in between, that's like it's kind of tends to be it's all good. It all will work out because life's happening for me, not to me. And that's the biggest thing about shifting from the victim mindset to the hero. And we're blending all these models because they all complement each other. They really
Yeah.
do. And
Yeah.
so,
It gives me, I'm a single dad. I got three kids that are just nuts. They're all over the place. I got multiple businesses I'm running. I know the middle of my day is going to be crazy and chaotic, but I find peace and like calm in knowing how I'm going to start and end my day. Like that is gold.
yeah, yeah, and you can always find time. Who doesn't have 2 minutes before they turn the light off and go to bed? Get out the
Mm.
pen and paper, write it down. Nobody can look you in the face and say, "I don't have time for that." And that's
Agree.
one of the biggest
I agree.
habits is I guess if you had one takeaway from this podcast, start and end your day with some intention with a pen and paper. If you just do that, the rest of the stuff is going to start falling into place. Maybe we should have started with that. Maybe this should have been called the bookending podcast. Maybe that's another one. Anyway, that's what you get when you get unscripted. You just get
Yeah. Yeah.
unscripted stuff. But Clint, anything you'd add to that? I know you.
I have a lot of thoughts, but I know we got to wrap it up. But just enjoy the journey. Like we're all shooting for our future self, and that's why we do all of this. And that's you know, thought I had was comparison destroys contentment. I can't compare myself to Jag or anybody else. I have to compare myself to my future self, and that's why I do all of these things. But I also have to enjoy the journey, and so enjoy it. Enjoy what you're doing because there's a purpose to it. Is my final thought.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Brock, how about you? Any last words of wisdom?
We've talked about this, and you've had this well laid out in since I've known you and been a part of this program. But I learned from your book. I at least didn't see it or hear it, but you're like, every great business has a vision, a plan, and a feedback mechanism. And I know that's what this triad is based off of, but they all inform one another. Your vision is your future self. Your plan is your daily uh, defaults, your Alpha 5 in this sense. And then the activity drivers are just the feedback mechanism, but they're all equally important. And if you're missing one of them, it's look at that one. Or if you're weak in one of those areas, put a little bit more focus into one of those places and start small. We say it every single podcast: start small, be consistent, and over time those things will grow.
Hmm. Yeah, you're right. If you didn't have a future self and we're just getting after your Alpha 5, it's tactics in search of a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not measuring anything, how will you know if you're there? How do you know you're better? And you might have some subjective feedback, but most guys, they love subjective results, but they really value the objective validation. It's like, hey, we all tried hard this month. That's great. Who won?
Yeah,
And again, we're not
be
competing,
better.
but like in this case, it's who won, my future self or my past self.
Yeah.
So it's that's
Yeah,
that's
we're not competing, but who won?
well, again, I think what I love about this group is it's not like if I beat Clint or not beat Clint. I like to know where Clint's at. One, so I can cheer him on. Two, I can learn from what's working for him and what's not working, and then I can apply it to my life. That's what's great about being in a band of brothers is you know what excellence looks like, and there's no better way to improve than to model behavior. Um,
And
um,
we all get better that way.
Clint
Yeah.
just had an example of somebody who reached out to him and asked him a question about some of his own things he reads and listens to, and like what a great example of a guy in a growth mindset of, hey, what do you do? You look like I don't know if he said this, but you seem successful. I want to do what you do. What do you
Mhm.
do in this area? And you told him it's like that's as hard as it gets. That's pretty damn simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
So. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks, Brock and Clint, for doing this. Everybody have a great week and go off and do one thing. Set a standard in one area of your life today and then go hit it. Start a bookending process. Start a morning routine. Start an evening routine. Start something. Take some massive action and tune in next week. Keep coming back. Appreciate you guys.
Good
You guys.
stuff.
See you guys.
See